What's up everybody, Mr. Play.the Gaming here, back with another video for y'all today. And today we're going to be talking about top 5 things I hate about live service games. Now look, I'm not completely against live service games because half of the game I do play are live service games. But there are some things in live service game that actually does annoy me, and I'll be talking about them in this video. So before we get into my top 5 things I hate about the live service business model, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, ring the notification bell for more video, and leave a like and leave a comment, positive or negative. So anyway, let's get right into the video. Starting out with number 5, one of the things I deeply despise about live service games is seasonal events, and not the seasonal event as a concept. I think seasonal events in video games are relatively cool because it allowed the developer to come up with unique skin ideas, especially seasonal event with Christmas and Halloween. Those kinds of seasonal event I'm down for. But the problem with seasonal events is that most seasonal events in live service games are nothing but skin showcases. And most of the time, if you're a free-to-play player or you're a player that ain't gonna spend any money on the seasonal event, it's very little thing for you to do in the seasonal event. Like take Overwatch for example. The Halloween and Christmas event, what can you really do in the event besides just buying the skins that come out for those seasonal events? Like the problem with seasonal event, it gives you really nothing to do. It basically incentivizes you just to buy cosmetics for the seasonal event. Like when people get hyped about a seasonal event, the only thing they really talk about is the skin that come from those seasonal events. Because for the most part, the reason the game developer creates seasonal events is because they saying, oh, this would be a perfect opportunity to release new seasonal skins, but the free-to-play players that want to have these skins can't have them because we're gonna give them little to do in the seasonal event. They probably have like 1 or 2 game modes in the seasonal event, but the real star of the show when it comes to seasonal events are the skins, and nobody can't deny that. The only reason seasonal events in video games are so popular, especially in live service games, is because people love to see seasonal costumes like Overwatch Christmas costume or Call of Duty Santa Claus costumes. Like the seasonal events are the people that pay get the most out of the seasonal event, while the free-to-play players or the people that just bought the base game, you're not gonna get anything out of the seasonal event because the seasonal event benefits the people that they are paying. Like if you ain't a paying player, the seasonal event really ain't for you. And I think that kind of sucks when it comes to a live service game. Because even though you're a free-to-play player, I truly believe that free-to-play players still deserve something for at least playing the game. Because at the end of the day, even the free-to-play player that don't spend it on the game are also the one that helping keep the game alive as well. Another thing I hate about live service game is a shop time limit. You notice in most recent live service game, most shops in these games have a time limit. And these time limits are here for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. The only reason these time limits are here in these live service games, I'll pop up on stream real quick, is to get you to buy the cosmetic by putting you on a timer. So they put you on a timer so you can buy the cosmetic ASAP. It's almost like you gotta have this. Or you found a cosmetic that you really like, but you see the timer and you realize I don't got like a day and a half to order to get this outfit, till it just go away from the shop forever, or it takes a really long time for it to come back. That's another thing I really don't like about today to live service game, is that they pressure the consumer into buying things they don't want to buy at that particular moment. So they basically pushing you to buy items that you don't want to buy right then and there by putting a time limit. And it almost like, hey, if you don't buy this now, you either gonna have to wait a really long time, and in some cases, if you play like a seasonal event, you're gonna have to wait a whole year just to get these items back again. And this also ties into the seasonal thing as well, where if you didn't get a skin in a seasonal event, you're gonna have to wait a whole nother year to order get that skin. So that's another reason I think this also toxic to the live gaming service, is that forcing the consumer to buy something they don't want to buy at a particular moment kind of make them feel jaded, or it creates FOMO, like they missing out if they don't buy the new cosmetic. And if they don't, they probably gonna get it for a very, very long time. That's the problem with time limits on these shops. And I hate that I hate games like Overwatch 2 and Apex Legends got this as well. Mostly Overwatch 2, because I mostly play Overwatch 2, and they also adopted this, oh, you can only purchase this at this time or gone forever thing, or gone until the net comes around. And the game that actually popularized this method of psychological warfare is Fortnite. Fortnite was the first game to introduce a shop timer, which kind of recreated urgency to the players. Like, hey, if you don't buy this now, you probably gonna buy it you're probably gonna come back for a very, very long time. And it created an issue where there are now account selling, where people sell accounts with rare skin for a ridiculous amount of money. Even Overwatch got some of these accounts where to get a certain skin, you either gotta shell out tens or thousands of dollars just for one costume that costs like $20 or $15 when it first came out. Usually skins that are also very, very rare in the shop and it got a little time limit on it also cost more than other skins by a long shot. So when the skin goes away, inflation goes up on the skin and people start selling accounts, which lead to these skins becoming ridiculously priced. Another thing I hate about live service game is the battle pass. Look here, I'm gonna be a complete hypocrite when it comes to talking about battle passes, because when I used to play Fortnite, I used to buy a lot of battle passes, and even now with the Overwatch 2, I bought that battle pass. So I'm aware that I'm the part of the problem when it comes to battle passes, and I probably will continue being part of the problem, but I think I still in my right to do so, to criticize it. One of my biggest problems with the battle pass is that it is time sensitive. What I mean by this is that if you're a person that can't be on a game all day or can't grind out a game for a certain amount of time, the battle pass is really not for you, because the thing is with a battle pass is that it is time sensitive, and sometimes the battle pass can take forever to grind. And one of the biggest thing I find weird about the battle pass is that you're basically paying money for the privilege to progress through this track. Like when it comes to battle pass, there are two types of track in the battle pass. You got the free track and you got the premium track. The free track is basically for a free to play player that don't want to buy the battle pass but still can earn stuff. But what you really want in the battle pass is the premium tier stuff. So the game incentivizes you to buy a battle pass so you can get the premium tier things. But here's the problem with a battle pass, is that a battle pass is time sensitive, and if you don't manage to complete that battle pass, you virtually just wasted $10 on a pass you didn't even get a chance to complete. And that's not the only thing about the battle pass I hate. Another thing I kind of despise about the battle pass is that you can actually buy the tiers. So let's just say the battle pass about to run out and you spent $10. You can either play a shit ton of matches to order to level up that battle pass faster, or you can just pay your way to the battle pass. And that's another thing I kind of find icky about the battle pass as well, is that you just got the ability to pay through it. You got the ability to pay through the battle pass. So they kind of raise the question, is the battle pass grindy? Because in some battle pass can be grindy. So is the battle pass grindy because the game developer knows that some people ain't gonna have the time to sit there and grind matches all day? Or is it grindy because the people that ain't gonna be able to grind matches can just pay their way through it? So basically paying the game developer for something you already paid for. So that's the kind of problem I've kind of feel dang about the battle pass, that I find the battle pass to be kind of cynical when it comes to players what they pay for, because even though you pay for the battle pass, you still got to unlock the stuff within it. And if you don't finish the battle pass, you feel like you just wasted $10 on a pass you didn't get a chance to complete. Another thing I hate about live service game is that free-to-play players don't get the chance to earn things. These can be either from free-to-play game or full paid-for games. And I think they're even worse than full paid-for games. So what I mean by this is that free-to-play players don't get the opportunity to unlock anything meaningful. What I mean by this, for instance, like cosmetics. Most cosmetic in live service games are always locked behind paywalls. They always locked behind some arbitrarily paywall that you gotta pay money to order to get these skins. Either these skins are completely locked out for free-to-play player, or they gotta do a lot of grinding just to get a mediocre skin that don't even look that impressive. But for instance, this do make sense in free-to-play games, because free-to-play games need to make money somehow. Games like Apex, Overwatch, and Fortnite, I understand those games having these systems because they need to entice you to buy something, because these games are running off a free-to-play model. So they kind of understandable when it comes to those games. But live service game where you pay an upfront price, either $60 or $80 in most cases, doesn't really make any sense. One of the instances is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is a decent Call of Duty game. I don't think it's the best Call of Duty game, but I think it's decent. But one of my problem with this game is that even though you paid the $70 price tag, which this game launched with, you still gotta pay premium currency to order to get stuff from the shop. And the stuff you unlock regularly is not that impressive. The only thing you can unlock in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 without paying money is weapons and camos. And the camos are decent for the most part. I don't think they're bad. Especially the ultimate camo you unlock for doing all the challenges for a specific gun. But the problem is with this system is that you pay $70 and you still ain't getting access to the majority of the costume that is advertised in the shop. For Christ's sakes, they don't even give you no card point for buying the game. Then when you get to the game, the shop actually acts like a second barrier to order to get something like a costume or something. So you basically paying for the privilege to play the game, and you paying for the cosmetic that come along with it. So not only did they double dipping off you, they actually quadruple dipping off you, because you gotta pay the game, you gotta pay for the game, then you gotta pay for every single cosmetic in the shop. And you gotta go pay for the premium currency. So what's the point of you paying the game up front if you still gotta pay for all the other stuff? Like, I never got that about this game. I never got that about Modern Warfare, about game where you had to pay $60 or $70 up front just to play the game. Then when you get into the game, you still gotta pay for the skins and cosmetic. Where some of these skins are cosmetic, not even that cheap. Some of these skins can cost around about $15, which I think is absurd since you already gotta pay for the game in the first place. Like, I think this is, like I said, this is totally acceptable in free-to-play game to a certain extent, because the game is free. You playing the game for free, so there's no upfront cost. But when you drop $70 on a game, especially a live service game, and you had to pay for skins as well that can range up to $15 in some cases, that's why I kind of think when game companies start getting a little bit greedy. The number one thing I hate about live service game is when they launch unfinished, bare bones, and broken. These games include Halo Infinite, Apex, Modern Warfare 2, Overwatch 2, or any live service game you can think of where the game just launched completely bare bones. Makes bad, these games I listed, I do love the game. Overwatch 2 launched with basically Overwatch 1 when it first launched, and still feel like Overwatch 1 when it first launched. Overwatch 2 didn't even have their PvE when it launched, which it's supposed to. And to this day, Overwatch 2 is still having mission feature, which you should be able to expect your weapon like they shot with, like you saw in the trailer of Overwatch 2. That's still not in the game. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 launched with 6 maps. That is less than the original Modern Warfare 2 launched with, which I think that's just unacceptable for a game that's supposed to be the reboot. Another game, Apex Legends only had 1 map, which became boring after a while. Even it held up great until like season 3 when it had a new map, which took, like I said, 3 entirely whole seasons to get. Shoot, even Call of Duty when it first launched for bare bones. Like I said, I already mentioned it had like 6 maps when it first released, but even then, the game really didn't have no cosmetic battle passes or anything worthwhile to grind for. The game literally did not count your win and loss record when it first launched. They did that in season 1. Another thing, in Halo Infinite, to this day, is still bare bones. Like, Halo Infinite just got a basic core feature. But when Halo Infinite first launched, Halo Infinite launched with a handful of maps and game modes. And they didn't even have Team Slayer when it first came out. My problem when game launched bare bones, it required the consumer to be patient, which I don't think the customer should have to do since if they buy a game. I think the customer is entitled to a finished product, or at least a product that ain't barren. Like, I feel like games nowadays just launch bare bone with little to no content, and they suffer content drought in their first season of the game releasing, or they first day of the game, or their first month when the game released, because there be no content. You play on the same map for over 1 month before the game actually give you some content to order to fill that void. Call of Duty sometimes take a while to update, because season 1 literally lasts 2 whole months before we launched on season 2. That's how content drought can affect the game negatively, because within those 2 months, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 had dropped significantly in players, especially on the PC version. I hate when game company release game or just take too long to update a game. Taking too long to update a game is what kills a live service, cause a live service is based off of the developer constantly updating the game, and if your game launched bare bones and with nothing to do in its first life, the player will quit and move on to something new. That what happened to plenty of game where the game launched bare bone with nothing to do, and the player just left because they don't want to stick with a game where there's just nothing else to do. Like, sure, the core gameplay probably be fun for like a month, but after that month, the player gonna be like, okay, what else can I get excited for about this game? The game is fun, but I need something else to get excited for. If the developer don't deliver that, they can run the risk of the game dying or declining drastically. For example, like I already brought up, Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite was good for like 1 month. Then after that month, people were wondering, hey, when a new update gonna come? And Halo Infinite just kept on, no updates, delayed updates. And people just got fed up with Halo Infinite and left. Now look what Halo Infinite at. Like, when you launch a game, launch it with a lot of content. Don't launch it with drip feed content or content that ain't gonna last a player base for a long period of time till the next one come out. When you launch a game jam packed with stuff for the player to do, and add upon that. Don't launch a bare bone game and just expect the player to put up with it, because sometimes the player may not put up with your game and probably just move on to something else. I think this is one of the biggest reasons live services fail, is because they launch a bare bone game and don't put out enough content updates, which lead player with nothing to do in the game eventually gonna die because of it. Because the only way you're gonna keep player engaged with your product or with your game is that you gotta constantly have them something to do. Especially now in today's society where we got plenty of games, plenty access to other games. And if a player ain't finding fulfillment in the game they're currently playing, they're gonna move on to another game. They're gonna fill that void. So that's why I believe one of the reasons I hate live service game is that they launch bare bones, and sometimes they take forever to get out content updates. And at the end, due to that, the player base just falls off and die. And that can lead some game with great potential to fade away because the developer wasn't updating enough. Like, there been some truly great games that had very, very good potential to do good, but they suffer from content drought. And one thing about people is that they're not gonna wait until you put something out. They're just gonna move on to the next thing. And I feel what make good game drop so fast is because the developers just abandoned it for a long time, or just keep on delaying stuff. So yeah, that is my number one reason why I hate my live service game is the content drought, and sometimes the game just launch completely bare bone with nothing to do. Anyway, everybody, that's it for today's video. I catch y'all next time with another video soon, hopefully. And yeah, y'all just have a good one. Stay safe. Peace.